Isayama, the author of Attack on Titan, is an incredible writer. This week's Attack on Titan episode 71, if we're keeping track of the total episode count, is a really good depiction on kind of what Isayama has been building up towards. He finally kind of reveals a picture he's trying to convey to the audience of this story, with the whole scene with the explosion, to the Jaeger's reveal, to the hatred between the Marlians and the Eldians, to the cycle of hatred between your own people within your own country, to just seeing how there's constant back and forth with hidden information and hiding things for the greater good, or at least from their perspective, the greater good, or how certain lines can be distorted to a very darker meaning. It's very clear what type of picture Isayama is trying to paint with this new season, this last season of Attack on Titan, and at the very least with his story. Because I want to take a look at something that I think probably shocked many while watching this episode, is the fact that a famous chant that we have heard since the very beginning of Attack on Titan, since Season 1, a famous saying we've heard from countless characters, we've heard Erwin say it, everyone that has been throughout the series has basically said if they've been on the front lines of the Survey Corps going up against the Titans, dedicate your hearts. That's usually what we have heard. It's something so inspirational. It's brought so much hype and so much joy to so many that has sat back and watched Attack on Titan. I know, at the very least for me, when I was watching Attack on Titan, that line had so much meaning and it just hits. But when you see that explosion and you just see the man just hit the ground, and then you see the people at the gate, normal civilians, I would like to add, start chanting, dedicate your hearts, and you just see them chanting it into a very crazed, cult-like fashion. It really goes to show you how something so innocent can be distorted and twisted to where you no longer know what its original form once was, and that's what's happening here. And it's incredibly sad, honestly, and I feel like it's very clear what Isayama is trying to say with his writing. He's making a statement, basically, on how today's society is in real life, and how politics are, how countries are, how people are. It's clear what he's trying to state with his writing, and it's really up in the air on how you actually feel about that. And I can definitely see the latest events of Attack on Titan this season really causing some not to like this season, because let's be honest, not everybody wants to remember real life. Not everybody wants to be reminded of how real life is. A lot of people do use anime for escapism. It's true. I mean, I've done it a few times on occasion as well. So I am also someone like that. And so when you see some things that are very reminiscent of real world problems, it's kind of jarring. Like, whoa, this is sad. It's dark. It's interesting, but dark. And that's what's happening here. I mean, like, we have the whole section that was just formed in this episode, the Jaegerists, that were given that name to be able to basically be said, these are people that follow Eren and people that are, causing a revolution or an uprising within Paradise Island to overthrow, the current government. It's fascinating to see the way the writing is depicting all of this and just kind of what side Eren is currently being placed on at this point, because when you really look at everything, at least from what we know so far from the story, Eren is kind of being positioned as a little bit more of an authoritarian / dictator right now. When you really look at everything going on, he's someone that's basically trying to go against all authority, and he's getting in power, and he's someone that's now trying to get what he wants done and going around everybody else to be able to get it done. It's something that's very fascinating, and it might make everybody, once again, maybe not even like this season of Attack on Titan because of the direction the story is going, because it's evolved past what it once was. Because when we look at the origin story of Attack on Titan, it was about humans versus Titans, and then eventually it evolved into humans versus humans, and then we found out that the Titans that are humans have been fighting have been humans all along, just a different version of them, and then now we have the whole story going on within Season 4 of Attack on Titan, and so it's very clear how much the story has evolved, and in this way, it's actually a great way to show how someone could start very naive and eventually evolve into someone that knows everything, or at least is more aware of the world, and that's kind of what has happened here. Eren and all the other characters and us along this journey have become more aware of what is happening within Attack on Titan. And this is a good episode to really just show how far the series has come from its origin point. Not just with the characters, but the world as well, and how much it's shifted, and the perspective of the world has opened up to such a massive degree. Titans aren't really even the biggest problem anymore. It's really just the people going at each other, trying to settle the cycle of hatred and come to a mutual understanding, which that might not ever happen to begin with, because let's be honest, that's a fundamental problem that has plagued us, humans, since the beginning of time. We've always had this tribalism and he versus them, etc. It's always been like that. And when you look at just the story, the way, the Marleyans are depicting the Eldians, they depict them like demons, basically demonizing them, saying that they're less than what they really are, not even human. And then it goes back onto the Eldians, how they view Marleyans and all that. It just shows how these cycles build up and continue to spin and go on further and further and further. And I love Attack on Titan that it doesn't try to sugarcoat. And that's why I like Attack on Titan. I think many that have been reading the manga and now are watching the anime, and anime only as well, watching the anime, are seeing the true beauty of Attack on Titan. The people that do like it are seeing that Isayama is not trying to sugarcoat the realities of the world. He's just presenting what is going on in real life in a different format. Something where you could kind of understand it in a little bit more of a simplistic realm. And that's what Attack on Titan kind of is. And I appreciate this level of dedication that Isayama has done with this episode and previous episodes and, future content that we have yet to see. This is why I think Attack on Titan is really a really quality series and a masterpiece at work. And when the final chapter finally arrives and the final episode finally arrives, I think many can say that Attack on Titan will be probably a modern-day classic / a masterpiece because of just how much has really changed and grown since the very beginning. But let's get into the other stuff. I know I've talked about the main message that Isayama is trying to convey with this episode, but I could go much deeper, but I don't feel like I'm fully qualified to talk about everything in depth because I don't know about every single topic enough to really give a full fundamental analysis and answer on it. So I'm going to refrain from diving in more into the realistic aspects of what Isayama is painting here. But to get into the nitty-gritty of the other stuff, we have a major character that we were introduced to a while back that, died within this episode. And when he died, it's interesting, he died to the very device that he created. And I know I said I was going to try to get off the realistic stuff and all that, but it's also very realistic. Usually something that you create and is made out of maybe malice or being deprived or whatever, usually comes back to haunt you. And it's interesting, something that was so depraved or whatever, what he created, turned out to be his undoing in this episode. It's ironic, honestly, to think about. And then on top of that as well, just seeing how the very government that the Survey Corps went so far to overthrow in Season 3 is now basically being overthrown again by the very individuals. The Survey Corps just shows a cycle that never kind of ends. And, the Jaegers being formed and all that, trying to make this new, Eldian Empire into a proper empire that actually wants to obtain the power it deserves and the future it deserves, at least in their perspective. It's crazy, honestly. So let's actually look at what's going on here, what maybe Eren might be trying to do. So if we backtrack a bit, we know for a fact that Eren denied the plan that Zeke had, and basically using Historia, and, having Historia really eating Zeke at the time. We know Eren kind of backtracked. He didn't want Historia to be a part of the upcoming wars and battles. He wanted her to have a happy life. And looking at everything we know at this point, it's clear that Eren deep down does care about the people around him, but something's obviously become very distorted or twisted. He's become cold, and he's only focusing on the future, the objective. He's no longer looking at the things around him. He's just looking at his one goal before he probably eventually has to lay down his life and die, because his time is, ticking down very, very quickly. He doesn't have much time left. So because of that alone, we know for a fact that maybe what he's trying to do and meet up with Zeke isn't necessarily to grab Zeke and feed him to Historia, because we know Historia being pregnant basically means that she cannot become a Titan shifter. That was the whole point of the previous episodes of this conversation, and why Historia, is untouchable right now because she has a child. And the question is who actually warned her in time? Did Eren warn her? Did someone else, a part of the Jaegers faction, warn her? What exactly happened? Whatever the case is Historia got pregnant at a time to where it was very problematic for Paradise Island, because as soon as Zeke arrived on the island, they were definitely going to feed Zeke straight to Historia and have her become the new, Titan, a new Titan shifter. So when you really think about that, it's like, okay, so clearly Historia got tipped off to everything, which makes you wonder, is she a part of whatever Eren is currently doing? But another question is, so if you have it to where potentially one of the Jaegers did tell Historia, or Eren himself told Historia to get pregnant and not have to worry about the whole Zeke stuff, what is Eren really trying to do with Zeke? Is he trying to work with him for whatever mysterious objective we're unaware of? Or is he actually going to try to obtain Zeke's Titan shifting power? Think about this. I mean, Eren already has the Warhammer Titan, the Founding Titan, the Attack Titan. What's to say that he doesn't also want the Beast Titan, and eventually maybe the Armored Titan, and, he wants the other Titans. So when you really think about it, it's like, maybe that's his objective. Maybe the reason why he's kind of settled this and kind of pinned the Survey Corps and the entire military up against the wall is so he could get close to Zeke and have him for his own, and be able to actually get Zeke's Beast Titan. That is a question that many might come to after this episode. But another thing as well is we got to look at the other people that kind of led up to this very point for Eren to even get to this section of the story, is Yelena. Yelena, she apparently met with Eren, fed him a little bit of details, and it's not really clarified everything she said was true or not. She probably skipped out on some details and didn't give everything about it, but all we got is that she was curious about Eren, wanted to meet him and see him, and that's all we really got. She never really gave any more information to Eren or really tried to manipulate him in any way. The only thing she actually said was that a fire needs to be lit under the current government to be able to allow them to take action, but that was basically it. Nothing else was done. So the question is she telling the truth or is she lying? And if she is telling the truth, then who planted it in Eren's head to do the very things he's doing? Or is this really just all Eren coming to this conclusion to, continue moving forward and to save his people? Because that was something that was definitely conveyed to us in the previous episodes when he was talking to Reiner, is that he understood what Reiner did. He forgave Reiner. He no longer cared about what Reiner did, but he's like, at the end of the day, one or the other has to die. That's basically what Eren came to the conclusion to, and so if you're gonna stand in his way, you're an enemy to him. So how far does that extend? Does that extend to even his closest friends like Armin? Does it extend to Mikasa? That is the question. Does that threat extend to everyone if they stand in his way? If you're in his way, you are an enemy. So yeah, it's an interesting episode. It's a very dark episode, and I love the way Attack on Titan does not sugarcoat these things. It's one of the best ways that I think a story can be told, is that a writer doesn't try to hide things, put on a band-aid to say this doesn't happen. I appreciate the 100% honesty of the writing. You could really feel what Isayama was feeling when he wrote this story, especially with these chapters or episodes. So yeah, it's fantastic, and nothing else really can be said besides that. It's really good quality, and art animation obviously is really good, which I guess that's something I want to talk about before I, wrap up this video. Apparently some were complaining about Eren's jacket scene. I personally didn't really dive too deep into the comparisons of the scene from the trailer to the scene we got within this episode of Eren's jacket scene, but apparently the trailer looked a lot better than the current jacket scene within the episode, and even if that may be true, I think it's such a small detail, it's not something to get up in anger about. And on top of that, looking at the scene in general, it doesn't really look that bad. Like, the scene doesn't even look bad. I wouldn't even thought about it and even felt it was bad if I didn't see people complaining about Eren's jacket on social media. So I'm just like, why are we complaining about this? It's not that bad. It's literally a brief scene. Yeah, it's an iconic scene, obviously, seeing him put on a jacket, kind of leading the new forces of what he wants to be the new Eldian Empire, but it doesn't change the fact that it's like, him putting on a jacket, it didn't look that bad, so why is people complaining about it? It's probably just individuals, wanting everything to be one by one completely perfect and finding anything they can to hate on something, and I think that's what's going on here. But I'm going to leave it at that, though. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below, because it does help me out a lot. It helps with the algorithm. If you want to find my videos and you want to see them pop up on your feed, please, leave a comment, leave a like, hit the bell icon. It helps me out. But anyways, I love you guys. Be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.